This function melt_def. This is the core step using pd_melt to transform the star1, star2, star3, star4 columns into a single actor column. Every row in the original data frame becomes up to 4 rows in the new long format, one for each actor. This function removes rows that came from an empty star cell. This function groups the melted data by the actor name and sums the gross clean for all movies associated with that actor. And this function formats the result into a clean data frame of top-end actors by total gross. Let's continue to task 10. This function finds the highest rated movies for a given genre, allowing for flexibility in matching genres. Okay, genre contains this function. Genre contains helper function. This local function checks a genre string, which may be comma separated, and returns true if the target genre is one of the parts, ensuring a case insensitive clean match. Okay, cell equals df this function filter this function. This function filters the data frame to include all movies whose genre cell contains the specified input genre using the helper function. This function, if single genre only, implements an optional filter to include only movies where the genre cell contains exactly one genre string. Top score equals cell. This function finds the maximum rating within the filtered subset. And finally, this function returns all movies that achieve the top rating, as multiple movies might share the highest score. Task 11. This is a utility function to extract and list all unique genres present across the entire dataset. All genres equals set. This function initializes an empty set to store unique genres. Sets automatically handle uniqueness. Loop over df. Genre iterates through every non-missing genre cell. Parts parts equal pstrip this function parts pstrip for p in val split. This function splits the comma separated genre string into a list of individual genre strings. Strip it white space. This function adds all extracted genres from that movie cell to the all genre set. And finally, this function returns the sorted list of unique genres as a pandas series. Let's continue the task 12. This function determines which genre was the most common in the movies released during each decade. Let's begin. This function creates the decade label similar to task 6. Diff group by decade star groups the data by decade. Loop over groups iterates through each decade group genre explosion. Genres equals group genre. This function splits all genre string in the decade group into lists of individual cleaned genres. Then this function uses a list comprehension to flatten the list of lists into a single list of all genre appearances in that set. From collection import counter. This function. This function counts the frequency of each genre in the flattened list. This function gets the single most common genre and its count. Then this function stores the result for that set. And finally, this function creates and returns the final data frame. Let's continue the sorting. This function identifies underrated movies defined as having a low vote count but a high rating. This function defines the condition for low vote count, 20,000 votes or less. Fill 0 ensures missing vote counts are included. This function defines that condition for high rating. If required metascore is true, the movie must have a high metascore. Otherwise, the movie qualifies if it has either a high IMDb score or a high metascore. This function filters the data frame to include only movies that satisfy both the low vote count condition and the high rating condition. Okay, let's continue the task 14. This function computes a comprehensive set of statistics for a specific director. Okay. This function filters the data frame to include only movies directed by the specified director name, performing a case-insensitive match for robustness. This function handles the case when no movies are found for the director. This function creates a series mapping move titles to their release years. This function calculates the maximum and minimum IMDb ratings and identifies these two functions. Calculates the maximum and minimum IMDb ratings and identifies the titles of the movies that achieved these scores. These functions calculates the mean ratings, mean runtime, and total box office gross for the director's movies. The runtimes and gross are conditionally checked to see if the clean columns exist. Okay, let's continue. Genre extraction iterates through all the director's movies. Genre spells splits the comma-separated string and collects all unique genres into a set. Returns the dictionary. This function returns the dictionary containing all the calculated statistics and lists. Okay, let's continue to task 15. Task 15. This function generates a histogram to visualize the distribution of movie releases over a range of years, helping to see threads in production volume. Year range filtering filters the data frame to include movies within the specified start year and end year, or uses the minimum maximum year if not provided. If points is none, sets the number of histogram. This function Sets the number of histogram bins to be equal to the number of years in the range, effectively making each bar represent a single year's count. Split hist creates the histogram. Labeling adds access labels and the title for clarity. Split show displays the plot. Task 16. This function creates a bar chart to compare the number of movies directed by a specific list of directors. Loop over directors iterities through the list of input director names. This function performs a case-insensitive count of how many movies each director has in dataset. This function stores the count. This function creates the bar chart using the director names for the x-axis and the movie counts for the y-axis. So this function rotates the x-axis label by 45 degrees to prevent director names from overlapping. Labeling adds an appropriate title and y-axis label. Split show displays the plot. And finally, task 17. Task 17. This function computes the Pearson correlation coefficient for specified pairs of numeric columns and generates a scatter plot for each pair, which is useful for visualizing the relationship between two variables. This function defines a list of tuples, where each tuple is a pair of columns to correlate and plot. Loop over panes. Check loop over pairs. Check for column existence. Skips pair if either column is missing from the data frame. Sub equals df, this function, selects the two columns and drops n rows where either value is missing, which is necessary for calculating a clean correlation. This function calculates the Pearson correlation coefficient between the two series. Stores correlation adds the calculated correlation to the course dictionary. Plot scatter, this function, plot scatter, generates a scatter plot of y we see x. This function sets the title to include the calculated correlation value, or to summarize the relationship on the plot. Return course returns the dictionary of all computed correlation. This set of functions covers a comprehensive movie data analysis workflow, including cleaning, summary statistics, complex top-end queries, and visual analysis. Thank you for listening to me. Have a good day.